What up, y'all? Welcome back to Sexton Sobriety. Please like and subscribe if you don't already. I would love for you to be part of this community. When I hit 1,000 subs, I am going to drop a podcast. So let's get right into it. Today, I'm going to talk about sleep and insomnia. Okay, I always had a weird relationship with sleep. When I was a little kid, I always asked my mom, where do I go at night? I felt like I was flying through the universe and going to different worlds and stuff like that. Now, later on in life, after doing some research, I think maybe I was astral projecting, but that's a whole nother subject. Anyways, so I'm just saying I kind of had a weird relationship with sleep. Later on in life, in my preteen years, I had some trauma. I had some crappy experiences, and that resulted in me always replaying stuff in my head while I was laying down. I also had behavioral issues. So I would lay down, I would replay everything I did that day, and sometimes I would take it further. I would go into months prior and be like, oh, I can't believe this happened. So I would just sit there and rehash things in my head and replay things. And I also would indulge in this negative self-talk about how I'm a bad person and, I'm so bad. I make terrible decisions and my life just isn't good. And some of that stuff went into suicidal ideation and stuff like that, but that's a whole nother subject. So anyways, this persisted for years. The older I got, the worse it got because I was just piling up negative experiences. Then I started manifesting into an addict because I was predisposed to it genetically, situationally, and because of past trauma. And so then I realized, well, wait, maybe I can just pass out every night. But prior to passing out, I would still have all these thoughts. I would still replay everything in my head, And look, I really think, this is just my opinion, my insomnia was based on that. It was based on not being in alignment. It was based on negative self-talk and low self-worth. It was based on the fact that, I had behavioral issues and I had past trauma that I was pushing aside and I wasn't looking into. So that was what insomnia was for me. And this persisted even though I was blacking out at night and passing out, okay? Then, you add in the lack of impulse control and the lack of emotional regulation that came from addiction for me. And then you're behaving even more out of character. You're doing things that are compromising your morals and integrity every single day if you're like me. And so this was persistent. Then it's like the same thing to where at night I'm just, rehashing things until I literally pass out. And then when you pass out like that, you don't really get sleep. You're just passing out and it's not the same. You don't go into the deeper levels of sleep. And so it's like, it just wasn't good. And so look, I was in active addiction for years, okay? And it was rough. It was rough to the point that I was having symptoms of respiratory failure. And in the middle of the night, I would wake up gasping for air. During this time, I was abusing Ambien, a sleep med, during the day. Okay, so that's what I got to. So I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. In early recovery, in detox, and in treatment, it was so bad, my sleep, that I wasn't really even sleeping. I was just laying there all night with cold sweats, shaking, sweaty, and freezing cold. And that was one of the worst parts of my early recovery, my detox was that, and the resurfacing of a bunch of trauma that was, pushed down. So just keep in mind, the reason I'm bringing this up is because it got better. When you're new in recovery, when you're in detox, when you're in rehab, that stuff can be terrible. And you start thinking to yourself, this is what it's going to be like forever. It doesn't have to be like that. If you address your past trauma, you work on your behavioral issues and your defects and stuff like that, it can totally change for the better. So in early recovery, I was prescribed Seroquel. And Seroquel is very strong. It makes you very sleepy. So for the first couple years of my recovery, I was on Seroquel. So then I'm having the same experience to where I'm literally passing out at night. And for me, that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to stop taking the meds, because I was like, this is too much. I'm actually feeling like I'm going to fall asleep and not wake up. So that was rough. The thing is I knew that the meds were doing something good. They were keeping me kind of, I'm sorry, but somewhat sedated to where I wasn't doing impulsive things in early recovery. And I was also actively in a recovery program and really working on myself. So there's a reason that it all worked out. Anyways, after a couple years, I got off the sleep meds. I used CBD, medical grade CBD. All right. And I'm not encouraging anyone to do this. This is just my experience. So basically, that's when I stopped passing out at night. is when I started taking the CBD. And it actually was very easy to get off these meds with the use of CBD. It helped me a lot. So that's when I stopped passing out. That's around the same time that I had really done tons of work on my past trauma and my behavior and all of that. And so for the first time ever, I started falling asleep without rehashing everything, you know? And then I went kind of back and forth. You know, I was working professionally in a field that wasn't right for me, so I sometimes would replay that stuff. But then it started balancing out, you know? And I just want to say this, my self-worth and gaining it and my internal voice being positive directly contributes to me sleeping well, straight up. So look, a lot of times we focus on the chemical side when we're talking about inability to sleep. I think sleep meds can be very tricky, but what I'm saying is the work that I had to do to sleep was done in my waking life, and it was done by being accountable and addressing discrepancies in my life. So look, that's just my thing. I really wanted to share that because I don't hear a lot of people talking about this when it comes to insomnia. I hear a lot of people focusing on sleep meds, etc. I think that shadow work or work on your trauma, work on your behavior, acceptance, all of that stuff, that's why I sleep well. Now at night, if I'm laying around thinking of stuff, it's never like this shame spiral. And I'm always able to fall asleep without passing out. I don't need anything to pass out. At the most, sometimes if I feel like I can't really sleep a little bit, it's not that strong, I'll take a hot bath straight up and I'm able to go to sleep. So look, you can go from someone who literally cannot sleep to someone who sleeps very easily without any type of medication, you know? And once again, I'm not telling people to stop taking their sleep meds. Just keep that in mind. I'm very careful when it comes to this. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm just saying that the work that needs to be done in order to sleep well and to not go into a shame spiral of replaying things in your head at night needs to be done during the day with accountability. That's just me. So yeah, I'm interested what y'all think. Hit me up in the comments. If you don't already, please like and subscribe, and feel free to DM me on Instagram. I always respond to DMs. Much love. Be easy.